All right. In this video, we're going to talk about self-driving cars and if and when they will replace you and me as rideshare drivers. So when I first started 7 years ago, I kept hearing about how, this is a very temporary gig because these self-driving cars were going to come in and take over our jobs, right? And that was the dream of Uber and Lyft. They wouldn't have the, expense of having to pay the drivers. They would just have to buy these cars and run them into the ground, and they would be self-driving, and they would become wildly profitable. So that got me to thinking now, it's 7 years later, it's the year 2023. Where exactly are we with these self-driving cars? Will they ever actually be self-driving and people will actually comfortably get into a car and trust that the self-driving car is going to take them to their destination? So we're going to look at the four main factors that need to be addressed before that happens. And stick around because at the end of the video, I'm going to make a prediction. Will self-driving cars ever replace rideshare drivers? All that and more. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, it's Jay Crater with the RideShare Guy, Nomad J. That's my logo. Drinking a little Java in the morning. That's kind of my thing. I like to work in the morning. I like to drink coffee in the morning. And let's get into this. So self-driving cars. So what are the hurdles? What are the major hurdles that the self-driving car industry has to overcome before these things are actually on the road driving us around? So number one, regulatory and legal challenges. So who's going to actually be in charge of this, right? I mean, there's going to have to be like a whole part of the government that kind of oversees this and makes sure that all the cars that are put on the road are actually safe. What happens when somebody gets killed by a self-driving car, right? Who's responsible for that? Is it the car maker? Is it the passenger that they might have done something and touched something inside of the car? Is it the government for allowing these things on the road? I mean, all of these kinds of questions, right? And how many deaths have to happen before they say, hey, wait, these cars, they're not working out, right? It was better with people. So all of those issues need to be resolved. And that's a whole lot of coordinating and negotiation that has to go on before that's resolved. Number two, technological limitations. So clearly the cars are not yet road ready. Otherwise they'd be on the road, right? So they're testing them. And of course, technology keeps, moving forward. Artificial intelligence is getting better. Deep learning is getting stronger. I don't know if that's even what you call deep learning, more sophisticated. So the cars have to be, ready, technologically ready. And they're not there yet. And it's going to still take some more time. I mean, like this recently, we've heard all about ChatGPT, and that's been kind of a breakthrough with artificial intelligence. I don't know that has any impact on the self-driving cars, but we can expect more and more breakthroughs in the radar. They got to have the radar and how these cars recognize human beings crossing the street. The different kinds of lines on the road, when it rains, when it's foggy, when it's snowy. There's just all of these, probably millions of different calculations that have to go on that we as human drivers, do. And they're teaching a car to do the same thing. It's going to take some time. Number three, public acceptance and trust. So what's it going to take? All right. What's it going to take for the John Q. public, the public, to say, all right, I'm going to feel comfortable getting into a car without a driver and trust that this car is going to take me where I want to go? Well, so it makes me think about a couple things. Airplanes, right? I'm sure when people first started thinking about flying into the air, there was a lot of resistance to the idea, right? How safe could it be? You're going to be way up high. And probably in the beginning, the planes weren't as, reliable as they are now. So it took a little bit of time for people to see, I've seen a couple hundred or a couple thousand airplane rides, and everyone seems to be doing okay. And there aren't too many crashes. But with cars, So we get into an airplane and we really don't think twice about it. But with cars, getting into a crash is a much more visceral experience. And we've all seen many times where we're driving down the road and there's a crash and you might see a body or you see a car that's completely smushed up or upside down. So we kind of are more intimate with that. So we probably have a more fear of that. And I think that's going to work against the self-driving car. Yeah. So what's it going to take for the public to accept and feel safe and embrace, to put their arms around this industry? And number 4, putting people, you and me, out of business. That's not a good thing. And there's going to be some friction about that, right? People aren't going to feel good about putting all of these drivers out of business. Certainly, we've gotten somewhat familiar with the idea of production jobs that were done here in the United States moving overseas, right? And we're sort of comfortable with the idea of people who go down and get coal, not doing that anymore because, it's not healthy, and there's, machines that can do it, and we don't need as much of it, and, helping them to find some other kinds of work. So there's precedent for this transition of labor, but it's going to be like kind of a sudden thing, I think, and the public needs to be okay with it before they embrace it, right? So that's the 4th real hurdle to these things taking over our lives. Well, of course, it's not going to happen on a date, right? It's going to happen starting probably in San Francisco, and they're going to say, they're already testing it out at night here and in a few other markets. But, they're testing, and there's still all these other issues. So my prediction, based on everything I've read, is that approximately 7 to 10 years, so 2030 at the earliest, is when the majority of rides will be driverless. But, and this is my key takeaway here, the key takeaway is there's still going to be people that want drivers. So I don't think, drivers are ever going to become extinct. We're not going to be like the dinosaurs. There's still going to be people that are going to say, I don't want that machine. I want a human person that I can talk to. I feel comfortable because that's how I've always been driven. I just can never embrace this idea of, a machine driving me around. It's kind of like there's a percent of the population that just never embraced Uber and Lyft, and they still take taxis, right? So there's going to always be a percentage of the population that's going to want to have drivers, right? They're going to want to have that human connection. I don't know how big a chunk that'll be. Certainly most drivers will be put out of business. And I guess only the most committed that really want to do it will end up sticking with it. But that's my prediction. 7 years, the year 2030. That's when I think this is all going to happen. So I hope you found that interesting and enlightening. The good news is that's 7 to 8 years away, 7 to 10 years away. So we got plenty of time to be thinking about the future and what else you might want to be doing besides being a ride-share driver. God knows what kind of opportunities we're going to have in 7 years. With the way the world is changing, it's just, my advice is just focus on the now. We can drive right now. We can make some money right now. We have the capacity to, create our plan B, turn it into our plan A, and move forward. So this is all way, way in the future, but it is interesting to think about because it's coming. Yep. I hope you liked the video. Thank you for watching the video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. That's really important. If you'd like to subscribe to our channel, subscribe and turn on notifications. We try to teach you how to be a better driver to make more money in less time. Go out and tell somebody you love them. Have a great day. Be safe out there. And we'll see you next time.